Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at BT04 and continuing to explore it as there's just a whole bunch of new cards and new possibilities added to just really make some fun, unique, and exciting decks with. So one of the decks that I'm going to be highlighting today is going to be a purple Plutomon deck, and I definitely think that Plutomon is a really powerful and really interesting Digimon to be playing around with, just because of all of the different applications that you could do with the card. So going over the deck, starting with the Digitama, I'm going to be running 4 copies of DemiMeramon. So DemiMeramon is still the best Digitama that we have access to for purple, so he just makes the most logical sense to utilize him just because he has this powerful inheritable ability of on delete, we get to draw 1 card and then discard 1 card. So this is just a really powerful tool to be able to set up our trash if we need to, on top of seeing more cards in our deck. And then as far as the 5th Digitama, I'm going to be running 1 copy of Xiaomon. So this could really be anything you feel like you want it to be. I just feel like Xiaomon is a pretty decent Digitama to be running because she has this nice inheritable ability of during your turn, if you have 10 or more cards in your trash, then this Digimon gains Retaliation. And Retaliation is a really strong removal type effect where I just want to swing into my opponent's Digimon to try to get rid of it, so Xiaomon definitely works with a lot of our lower levels, making them that much more dangerous. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of DemiDevimon. So DemiDevimon is in the deck just because he is that value-efficient vanilla, where you know the drill by now. Low play cost, low evo cost, decent DP means he's just a very efficient card to run. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Gabumon. So this is the BT02 Gabumon, and this Gabumon is relatively decent just because he has this great inheritable ability, where on delete we get to draw 2 and discard 1. So he's basically doing a very similar thing to what DemiMeramon is doing, except he allows us to see an extra card, and that just makes him really good. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Tapirmon. So Tapirmon is a really powerful Digimon just because he natively has this on-delete ability of being able to draw 1. So he is the best sacrificial fodder card that we have in the deck, and he pairs it nicely with any of our Digitamas because our Digitamas definitely impact how we want to utilize the card, because with DemiMeramon, we get to draw an extra card and discard a card, or with Xiaomon, we could utilize him to try to threaten the fact that he could have retaliation. So Tapirmon is just doing a whole bunch of work for the deck and is one of the main cards that we want to see. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Candlemon. So Candlemon basically is doing the exact same things as DemiDevimon, and all of the reasons why we're playing this version of DemiDevimon is the exact same reasons why we're going to be running Candlemon. And then the last rookie of the deck is going to be 2 copies of Gazimon. So Gazimon is just a really fantastic rookie for the deck just because he has this very powerful ability where during both players' turns, your opponent can't gain memory except by tamer effects. So this essentially locks them out of any way to gain memory off of their Digimon or options, which is just really powerful because the majority of the time that's where they're going to want to gain the memory from. So Gazimon just turning that off is just really, really powerful. Next, on to the champions, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Devimon. So this version of Devimon is the BT02 version of Devimon, and this Devimon is really powerful because he has 2 big abilities. So the first ability he has is he natively has Retaliation, so that just automatically makes him really threatening and hard to deal with sometimes because he always will have that potential of deleting one of the opponent's Digimon. And then not only does he just have Retaliation, he also has the inheritable ability of giving Retaliation, making whatever he Digivolves into that much more threatening. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Meramon. So Meramon is really only in here just because he's a great tempo card, where we're just playing him for the fact that he has a really low evolution cost. So the whole idea behind the card is he's just really easy to Digivolve up into and utilize the fact that we Digivolved up into for very little memory to Digivolve past him into our higher levels that much more efficiently with. And then the last champion of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Devimon. So this Devimon is really great for the deck just because he has 2 big uses. So his first big use is he is the deck's dedicated blocker, so it's still always nice and important to sometimes run a blocker, so this Devimon is fitting that role quite nicely. And then on top of which, not only is he a blocker, but he also is acting as a very similar tempo tool to what Meramon was doing, just because he has this really low evo cost. So both of those elements combined just make him a very good card for the deck to run. Next, onto the ultimates, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Kimeramon. So Kimeramon is a really fantastic Digimon for the deck to be running because he has this really great and powerful on-play ability where we get to delete one of our other Digimon to delete one of the opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon. So this is acting as some really good removal for the deck, and we have a whole bunch of cards that we don't really mind sacrificing to utilize this effect with because we could trigger various effects of our own. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of SkullMeramon. So SkullMeramon is just another tempo card where we're just playing him just because of how efficient he is to play for his level. So the 2 big reasons why we're running him is because he has a really low play cost. That makes it just that much easier to get up into our higher stages if we don't see any of our other stages. On top of which, he also has a really low evo cost, so that way we could get up into our higher stages through evolution that much faster and efficient than some of the other ultimates that we have in the deck, all combining to make him a very good card to run. And then the last ultimate of the deck is going to be 4 copies of LadyDevimon. So LadyDevimon is the most powerful ultimate that we have for the style of deck, just because of how much work this card is doing. So she has 2 big abilities. Her first ability is a when digivolving ability. We get to draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards. So this is really powerful because with the evolution bonus that we get for digivolving up into her, we basically get to see 3 cards out of the top of our deck, and then the only downside is we have to discard 2, but we are purple and we do have some trash-based synergies, so it's not like it's that big of a deal discarding a couple of cards. And then on top of that first ability, she also has a really nice inheritable ability where during your turn, once per turn, when we use an option card, we get to delete one of the opponent's level 3 or lower Digimon, so just having some free extra removal is always nice to have. Next, onto the Megas, I'm going to be running 3 copies of MetalGarurumon. So this is the BT02 version of MetalGarurumon, and he's still a very powerful Digimon for this type of deck to be running, just because he has this great when attacking ability. You get to play 1 level 3 purple Digimon from your trash for free, but you don't get any of their on-play effects. So all of the level 3s that we're currently playing around with don't have any on-play effects, so it's not like there's a real downside to utilizing this ability. We just care about the fact that we're spawning an extra body, and then depending on the current state of the game and the types of cards that we're seeing or playing around with, we definitely could utilize that extra body in various different ways, which is what we're really trying to gain out of the card. Next, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Plutomon. So Plutomon is just a very powerful Digimon for this deck to be running because he has a really great when digivolving ability where we get to draw 2, and then after we draw the 2 cards, we also get to play 1 purple option that costs 6 or less from our hand for free. So options are usually relatively hard to play, and Plutomon basically allowing us to play our options for free is just really, really nice because we have access to some really powerful options, and we could use this ability in various different ways to play various different options. Next, I'm going to be playing 2 copies of Garurumon. So Garurumon is in here for a very similar reason why MetalGarurumon is in here. He has this really good main ability of Digiburst 2, where we get to play a level 3 purple Digimon from our trash for free. So with this card, we do get their on-play effects, but it's not like it really matters because we're not trying to utilize any of their on-play effects because none of them have on-play effects. But if you want to kind of like play around with the deck so that way you could utilize more on-play effects, you're more than welcome to do so. But the fact that we just are spawning extra bodies with this Garurumon is the big reason why we're playing him. On top of which, he just natively has Security Attack +1, allowing us to deal even more damage to the opponent utilizing Garurumon. And then the last Mega of the deck is going to be the only level 7 we're running, which is going to be 2 copies of Millenniummon. So Millenniummon is just a very powerful level 7 for us to be running because he has this really great when digivolving ability where we get to return one of the opponent's Digimon back to the bottom of the deck. So this is already just a really powerful removal type of effect, where it's just getting rid of a problematic Digimon off of the field, and if that Digimon had an on-delete ability, then they won't be able to trigger it because it's not actually being deleted, it's just returning it to the bottom of the deck. So that's just what's making Millenniummon a really good removal card. And then on top of his removal ability, he also has a really powerful on-delete ability, where we basically get to replay this card if he had any Digivolution sources under him. So that's just a really powerful type of recursion because he's just always going to be remaining on the field as often as he can, always posing a big threat to the opponent and applying lots of pressure that way. Next, on to the options, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Hell's Gate. So Hell's Gate synergizes really nicely with Plutomon just because it already has a play cost of 6, allowing Plutomon to play it for free. And the reason why we do want to play this card for free is because it has a really powerful main ability to delete one of the opponent's level 6 or higher Digimon. So most of the problematic Digimon in the game are going to be on the opponent's level 6 or higher levels, so we just want to make sure that we have a card to clean up those, just because we have a whole bunch of removal for a whole bunch of their other levels, except for level 6 or higher. So that's where Hell's Gate comes in to fit that role. And then on top of its main ability, it also has a very powerful security ability of adding itself to our hand, so that way we could utilize it with Plutomon when we Digivolve up into Plutomon. And then the last option of the deck is going to be 3 copies of Deathclaw. So Deathclaw is a really powerful card that comes from the purple starter deck, and it has a really solid main ability of being able to delete one of our Digimon to delete one of the opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. So this is acting similar to Kimeramon, except it's on a option card, and that option card costs 1, so it's a very efficient option card to play, and just being able to remove the opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon is still very, very powerful, because most of the time we're going to be utilizing this to get rid of a blocker, or kind of just stop up their evolution chain if we notice that they're trying to build up into something more powerful. So having Deathclaw is just really powerful there, and then on top of which it has a nice security ability of being able to just straight up delete one of the opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon, so it's even really good in the security as well. And then the last card of the deck is going to be the only tamer of the deck, and that's going to be 2 copies of Purple Matte Ishida. So this is the BT02 version of Purple Matte, and this version is really nice just because he is going to be acting as our memory fixing tamer. So if our memory is ever less than 3, he'll just always hard set at 2-3, which just makes a lot of our plays that much more easier and efficient to do. And then on top of which he has a really powerful on-play ability where we get to return 1 purple Digimon or purple option card from our trash to our hand. So just being able to recycle almost any card in our entire deck outside of another Matte and Millenniummon is just really powerful, because we could set up our trash to figure out what we need to grab back later with Matte. And then on top of which, him being a tamer means that he also has the security ability of just being able to be played for free. So when he comes out of the security, he's going to get his on play effect, and then just really be a big menace to the opponent, just because they can't memory starve us or memory choke us, and we get a lot of value off of what Matt can be doing. So as we can see, there's just a whole bunch of synergy with the deck and all of the types of cards that we're playing around with. So we have MetalGarurumon and CrestGarurumon to help res our cards for free, so that way we could sacrifice them with Kimeramon or Deathclaw. And the best level 3 that we have access to sacrifice our cards with is something like Tapirmon. But if we need to, we could also utilize our 2-cost level 3s to make playing Deathclaw that much more efficient. And then, on top of which, because we're already playing some options, Plutomon is just already looking to be a really powerful Digimon to help us play our options, because we have options like Hell's Gate where we could just play it for free and continue a lot of the removal that way. And then on top of which, we also have LadyDevimon, where when we use Plutomon's ability to play Hell's Gate, we also get to delete one of the opponent's level 3 Digimon, which is just really powerful. So there's just a whole bunch of built-in synergies with the deck that's just really making it a very fun and powerful deck to be playing around with. But you could customize and change the deck to play a whole bunch of other cards, all depending on what you want to gain out of the deck. So one of the other lines of play that you could think about utilizing is the promo MetalGarurumon, just because the promo MetalGarurumon has a really nice Digiburst ability where you get to play a purple option card that costs 7 or below from your hand. So he's doing a very similar thing to what Plutomon is doing. And then we also have access to some very powerful 7-costed option cards like Trump Sword and Nailbone, so you could utilize those as well. And then we also have a whole bunch of other really powerful options that we could still think about utilizing, like Heat Viper and Necrophobia, just because they are very good option cards that cost 6 or below, so we could even utilize those as well. Then we also have access to Night Raid 2 if we just want to help round out our option package. But we also have some other really nice megas that could support the deck in different ways. So we also have access to Lilithmon, which just helps us res some of our options and add them back to our hand. So that way we could then reuse them with Plutomon. And then Lilithmon also has another really powerful ability where when we use our option cards, then we get to gain 2 memory. So if we use Plutomon to play our options with Lilithmon on the field, then we're going to be netting and gaining 2 memory for doing that, which is just really powerful of a play to think about doing. Then, if you just want some other cards to like res your Digimon with, Anubismon is definitely a really powerful one to be playing around with, just because he has this nice when Digivolving ability to just res a level 3 Digimon from our trash. And that's just really powerful because we still get its on play effects, and then it doesn't restrict it to color, so we could even play slightly off color if we needed to, because Anubismon doesn't target colors. And then he also has a really nice passive ability during our turn. Whenever we get to res one of our Digimon from our trash, then it'll gain the rush ability, so we could even add a little bit of aggressive spin onto the deck. And then we also have access to Mastimon, which is just another generically decent res card that we could utilize to help burn the opponent's security and res a Digimon of ours at the same time. So that's just pretty powerful to be thinking about. Then some other really powerful cards that we could think about playing around with is the Weregurumon from the starter deck, just because purple doesn't have great ways of DP boosting our Digimon, so Weregurumon is just a really powerful way of DP boosting our Digimon with. Or if we want to play a little bit more aggressively and we don't care about our stats so much, then we could utilize the BT02 Weregurumon to just enable us to be able to restand because we're already resing our Digimon a little bit. And then we just have some other cards that could help us find the cards that we need. So we have cards like Garurumon and Gabumon from the starter deck to just help us find our cards, because they both have this when attacking draw 1, discard 1 ability. So that way we could figure out what we need and what we don't need and fix our hand that way. And then on top of which we also have Garurumon from BT02, which could help passively gain us a memory whenever we delete one of our own Digimon, which we're kind of already doing a little bit of that with the type of self-sacrificing synergy we have in the deck. And then if you really wanted to play some on-play effects and utilize some different cards, Dracmon is really good because he gets to add a purple option that costs 1 or 7, so he does have a little bit of selecting on the options that we could bring, but depending on your deck, that might not even matter. But if you just want another generically decent card to help us draw cards, then Labramon's on-play ability to just draw 1, discard 1 is still really good to think about. And then we have access to some other really decent tamers. So Mimi just, again, synergizes with the fact that we're playing options, so we could use her to passively gain a memory when we use our options. And then we have cards like the starter deck mat that just interact with the fact that we'd be self-sacrificing some of our Digimon to just passively gain a memory back for doing that. So there's just a whole bunch of variety and flexibility that you could utilize a lot of these cards with to really make a really powerful, unique, and special deck, all depending on what you want to play. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, I'll have the deck listed down in the description below, and down in the description below will also be my TCG Player affiliate link. So whenever you use that link to buy cards off of TCG Player, some of that money will end up going to supporting me in the channel. And then on top of all of that, feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.